Welcome everyone to another edition of HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host Kevin McPherson. It is Monday, August 24th, as we talk hog hoops and hog football tonight. This will be an abbreviated session. I know oftentimes I promise that or say that, and then it goes a little longer than anticipated. But I am going to mix a little basketball and football tonight. We're going to effectively, basically, zero in on the Miikka Muurinen situation. What we brought you when we recorded on the morning on Sunday, just yesterday, but it's been about a day and a half since we've been on. And so we got more information. We'll call it two parts of intel. Some of it you may be aware of if you came back and read the comments. Another part of it's from a source that I've been talking to for a while, among many sources weighing in on Mika's situation in terms of what that they think it's a matter of procedure that he's going to be cleared by the NCAA and timing, as opposed to a real deep dive on more details in his situation that could sway it either way. So we're going to have an intel update there and an intel update on some information that came from me from a University of Arkansas men's basketball program spokesperson Sunday afternoon after we recorded the show and after it had actually published. We're going to get into that. And then in the football part of it, we're not going to go real deep on that either tonight, but I am going to talk about KJ Jackson. And it's not really news now. By the time you're seeing this, you've already heard QB1. I've just got a few thoughts about that as we also prepare for Arkansas Razorbacks football season. And as you know, I do on a much smaller scale in terms of volume of shows. I do some Arkansas football content on YouTube here on this same channel on HogvilleNET, typically with Otis Kirk, and we go, obviously much longer than I planned to tonight, talking about Arkansas football just in this split episode, hoops and pigskin. So let's get started. We're going to begin with hoops because that's where our bread is buttered around here. And I know these were this was the graphic and the comment that I put on the screen on Sunday's show when I first came in and said I had a source who's not one of my typical sources for Razorbacks recruiting or the team, but a source for just talking basketball and player development at the high school level, that kind of a thing. I mentioned all of that. So I'm not really someone that's bringing me intel and source information about the Hogs on this level, but doesn't mean that the information isn't good. And they got it from someone they know, direct contact that they heard from directly, affiliated with Arkansas's athletic department in terms of a booster, I guess, for lack of a better word. That's what we call them. A donor, not only monetarily, but resources. So we covered all that, saying that they heard that Mika had either been cleared and it just wasn't public yet, or that Arkansas staff was informed his clearance will be coming down in short order where they could announce it soon. That kind of a thing wasn't clear there. It came from one source, not vetted, not one of my sources, the third party. And so I said all of that. I told you all of that. I said, it wasn't even enough to bring onto the show without some confirmation and some other source with more solid information on it to even bring it up on a show, because I took it to 2 days off because of some other stuff going around here at Mikasa in the 501. um, Either way, that's what I said, and then I did some digging when I was informed that a report had come out over the weekend. My information that I just reiterated came to me on Friday. Sometime over the weekend, there was a more other reporting in the media, I guess, that was made public that Mika had been cleared. Only come to find out, I did some digging, made some phone calls, and talked to the folks that were sharing that information, and they didn't have it confirmed either. So you had two unconfirmed scenarios, and even that wasn't enough to bring it. But because behind the scenes I had been doing outreach to the University of Arkansas men's basketball program, one request to the staff, one to the UA spokesperson. One of those got back to me on Sunday morning in time for me to say, okay, now that I have someone officially weighing in on this matter, good or bad, nondescript, middle of the road, whatever. Now we'll talk a little bit about it because it's what's pressing. Everybody wants to know because of what happened or didn't happen for Meek in the Bahamas when we learned the NCAA still hasn't cleared him yet. He's been practicing with the team through limited on court work in June and July, and then the Bahamas he was with the team on the bench in street clothes. but not participating, being held out until he's cleared, even though those were exhibition games. Then you had a break, players, even the international players going back home. In the cases where Arkansas has players from overseas, and then everybody reconvening and getting back to campus for the start of the fall semester exactly 1 week ago, Monday, August 17th. So we are Monday, August 24th. And everybody wants to know, well, when's the NCAA going to weigh in on Miikka? If you think about the last couple of weeks, the NCAA has cleared and affirmed eligibility for international players at other schools who played professionally, and I think in every case they played in more games and made more money than Miikka did. And there may be some limitations to their full eligibility in terms of how many seasons, but in the case of Miikka, who's a potential one and done, we said the worst case scenario that we could imagine based on our conversations with our sources is that the NCAA limits him to 3 or 4 years eligibility in an era now where players have 5 years to play five. But as someone that could potentially be a one and done, that's not necessarily a problem. And if Mika's around for 3 seasons and he's good enough to be on the team for that long, but still hasn't gone pro, then you'll take that as well. But we don't even know that the NCAA will be that harsh on him in terms of when they do grant him eligibility. Only that was probably my worst case scenario for him, based on again conversations with folks who feel like they have pretty good read on this, and they say, look, this is a timing thing. He's going to get cleared, that kind of a thing. All right, but reaching back to the staff based on that latest source information, again, not one of my typical source, you know, streams, we'll call it. And someone it gets about as close to John Calipari as it gets back to me and says, everyone will know Mika's situation when administration and Coach Cal feels it's time. Okay, so that kind of makes you think that they already know something, not disputing what I had shared with them to find out that I've got someone telling me he's been cleared and it just hadn't gone public yet. It almost makes you kind of think that there's a possibility he has been cleared and they just haven't put it out yet. They're going to do it on their time. So I said, that's rail one. That's one way this could be going. I said, the other way it could be, you could interpret that as meaning they'll let you know anything, whether it's still pending, whether they did get good news or maybe bad news on their timeline when they feel it's time. I said that's rail two. I said rail three is it's just bad news. He's not been approved, and they're trying to figure out what the next move is in terms of the legal situation. Kind of keep things under wraps until they have another, idea of where the path leads to next before letting things go public, because sometimes those optics are a little more palatable if you think that there's a plan in place to move forward in a good way for Mika, if in fact the NCAA did something like that. And I said that was absolutely the least likely scenario that I could envision, this being where this was headed. But I throw it out there and I said, maybe there's some other version other than those three that I haven't even thought of yet. Okay, so that catches you up to speed on Sunday's show and how we are, where we're at. Most people understand and that watched it. Again, that was just yesterday. I think I recorded a little bit before noon. I think I mentioned on the show it likely will publish probably around 1 o'clock. I said maybe we get lucky and it publishes before 1 p.m. Central Time. And in fact, it did. But I think it actually published. YouTube downloaded it, it uploaded whatever, did all the quality checks to make sure I wasn't doing something illegal on the show or whatever. And then eventually, I think it published between 12:30 and 1. The reason that's important is because not only after we recorded and it published, both things happened already when the U of A spokesperson finally got back to me. And they got back to me with this message that you'll see on the screen, probably be in tiny print, because I came and added it to the content, to the comments after the show had published. And you see the timestamp. I took a screenshot. It was 2:10 p.m. when I put this on here, the comment. Now, I didn't see my text notification immediately, so it was after 1 p.m., but before 2 when I did receive this response. Again, show had recorded and published. And here's what the men's basketball program's spokesperson said. And so I put another update, this one from UA spokesperson that was just sent to me. Okay, here it is. Here's what he said. Quote unquote, his, meaning Miikka Muurinen, status has not changed. Okay, so you have someone else from the program saying it'll be put, updates will be put out when they feel it's time. And here's a status has not changed. So if you're taking this at face value, it means that the source information's not correct. If his status has not changed, that means he hasn't been cleared. And we said we were not on the show to tell you that we believe Miikka's been cleared and they're just holding it under wraps till they're ready to say that. We told you we're not trying to say that. We don't know. I said, I'm just giving them information as I have it. I would have never talked about that one piece of information or even the second unconfirmed piece reported elsewhere had I not gotten somebody connected to the program getting a response to me on it. And then it made it okay for me to bring it up, lay it out, and explain to you exactly, hey, this is no smoking gun of anything. It could be this, maybe it means this, maybe it means this, and maybe there's a fourth or more option of what it could mean that I haven't even thought of. So all of that was specifically laid out, but here is so it looks like rail 2. Nothing's changed, no status change. So if this is accurate, now do I rule out the fact that that it's not that this is just a way of keeping people on pause until they're ready to put it out? I doubt that. I think if it's coming from within the program saying it has not changed at this point, I'm going to take that at face value, and they're still waiting. Do I think there's reason to be concerned here? Here's the other part of the intel. So this is the first part of the intel. If you didn't see this update, a lot of people probably did, so you've already seen it. Again, I posted it, after just after 2 p.m. on Sunday, so it's been out there well over a day. But if you didn't, you know what the university is saying from within the sports information department. We'll say that related to the men's basketball program. Um, Now, I did reach back out to several of my sources that have been telling me since the news came out that Miikka would not be playing in the Bahamas because of his eligibility not having been cleared just yet by the NCAA, and multiple telling me that this is just a timing thing. There's no reason to think he won't. He should be. It's expected to happen. Nothing to see here. But the longer things go along, and then you see that other players have been cleared who also played professionally and signed on with college teams, played professionally overseas. Now the court stuff that's giving injunctions to players and all that, that's different. That's not the NCAA approving anything. That's the court system, and the NCAA's fighting that. And so you're seeing some names you probably think have no business playing college basketball anymore. RJ Lewis and Will Wade and LSU getting a court injunction today. I mean, this dude, the last time I think he played a college game, he lost St. John's in the round of 32 to Arkansas, and he had a horrible game. What was he, the Big East Player of the Year or in contention for it? And had just an awful game, and Arkansas upset St. John's to get to the Sweet 16 in year one of Cal, and then he goes undrafted I believe that summer in the draft, but nonetheless he signed with one NBA team, and I think he was involved in a trade from that team to another NBA team, and then waived. Nonetheless, he gets cleared because of what the courts are saying. Now we'll see if that'll hold up. At the end of the day, what do I always say? That the courts end up having their way, even if the NCAA is winning some of these stay motions to just draw things out and try to motivate these players to stay away from the college game because now their situation drags out longer. School started back, and it just kind of muddies up their ability to even make NIL. While it's technically still unclear at the end of the day, I think most all these players that are filing suits, as long as their name's attached to it, they're going to end up winning and being ruled eligible. How much season's left by the time all that's ironed out? I don't know. But you come back to a guy like Miikka and you're going, why are we still waiting to hear from him just from the NCAA? His should be cut and dried. I mean, this they're already again approving some guys that have more time on the court on the international pro levels than Miikka did. And so again, circling back to sources who, because of that kind of thing, saying, don't worry about this. And I'm like, okay, do you still feel as good as you do? Every source that has told me that Miikka should be cleared soon is saying, yeah, it's the same message. Nothing has changed just because we're a little further. I want to salute because of all the stuff we just went through with all the players and the transfer portal and things don't work out and the grass is greener immediately and I'm going to go chase NIL and I'm going to go to the pros. No, I need to come back because the pros didn't want me. All these different things. How about old school KJ Jackson in the present getting named QB1, we figured this was going to go that way. AJ Hill, who followed his coaching staff from Memphis, with a thought to be in a quarterback battle. I think a lot of people didn't think that KJ was really in a a heated quarterback battle. Coming into this to begin with, it depends on who you ask. But Ryan Silverfield, in fact, naming KJ Jackson, if you think about it, he was recruited by Sam Pittman's offensive coordinator at the time, Dan Enos, who was on his second stint at Arkansas. Because I believe the first time around was with Brett Bielema. Um, and you think about that, he's been on the bench for a couple of seasons. Then it was Bobby Petrino who came in and he stayed at Arkansas. He was on the bench again last season behind, in QB2, behind a quarterback with a ton of talent. Had his issues, and KJ Jackson gets a few opportunities at the end of a lost season. And so here's a guy that stuck it out. This is old school, sticking things out, staying with the program, staying with the, knowing the assignment and getting your opportunity. It's his turn. What he does with it, we don't know yet. But I want to salute KJ Jackson for being an old school college football player, really any sport. And from my era, and it doesn't mean that it's all bad now, but there is an element that doesn't feel like um, players are willing to stick around if they don't get the answers they want right away. If they don't get everything they want right away, it's time to move on. And KJ's been one that's a veteran in the program with a new coaching staff. I mean, he could have bolted and given Arkansas with this hire and given Arkansas more question marks at arguably the most important position on the field for a program that's quite honestly struggling. We're going to see how good this Arkansas team is. Expectations shouldn't be really high, I don't think. But at the same time, if you look on the offensive side of the ball, it appears to be there's good depth, if not solid depth. There's good depth at most positions. The running backs, the receivers, the tight ends. We'll see about the offensive line. Some perceive coming into things on the offensive side of the football that the offensive line might be the strength. Is AJ Hill someone that's going to, give KJ a run for his money at some point? I mean, KJ's got to perform. I don't know that you can judge his performances just based on wins and losses, but we do that. We tend to do that. But at the end of the day, kudos to him for sticking it out and getting this nod as Arkansas starter. There's probably some pretty good depth at the receiver spots. Again, the running back room, every position on the offense. Brian Silverfield brought over a player that he had with him at Memphis, including the quarterback position. And so it would be easy for him to, you know, turn the keys over to the offense to players he trusts and knows and who knows his system. So on some level, kudos to him for, I guess, being fair about this in terms of what he sees and who can help the team run away. I don't know if there are any promises made to KJ for sticking around when Silverfield was hired. Either way, I'm going to assume this young man earned it. And I was impressed with the limited action we saw on the field at the end of the season. It appeared to me that this guy cared about making every play work. I didn't always feel that way. And I could be wrong about that with the other quarterback. I sometimes felt like there was a lackadaisical situation going on at times, which led to some really bad, busted plays, whether it was turnovers, untimely sacks. No sack is timely, but if there are some, that guy had them. I mean, a world of talent. We're seeing some of that as he looks forward to an NFL career. But at the end of the day, what I saw from KJ Jackson, I didn't have very many complaints. I don't know that I had any. We don't know what it's going to turn into, translate into, but I wish him the best. And of course, the Arkansas Razorbacks less than 2 weeks away from opening kickoff against in their opener that they should win, and then we'll see what they do after that against directional Alabama. All right, that's it. HogvilleNet Hoops and football tonight. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. That helps us out. Please hype up the content if you like it. Put comments in after the fact. Turn your notifications on. I don't like to say that in a scolding manner, so I'll say it with a smile. Yeah, it's Monday. This was again, abbreviated segment. Nothing special to report tonight. Everybody wants the good news on Miikka. So it's probably a little bit of a buzzkill for the university to formally weigh in with a no status change. I get it, man. The job is to tell you what we find out If it's time to talk about it, now we've got two parts of the basketball program that commented, and you've seen those comments verbatim now. But until next time, I hope you have a great week. And I hope we have good news. Visits, 5-star visits upcoming. Been kind of quiet on those dates coming out. We're just sitting around waiting on that, waiting on the Miikka news. We didn't even talk tonight about fifth year bigs and whether or not Calipari's going to make a move. I'll tell you that. Tell you this: if he's going to do it, hopefully the wheels are already in motion. Today through Wednesday is the typical standard time frame. So the 24th to the 26th for late enrollees to squeeze into the fall semester. After that, I don't know if there's anything that can be done for student athletes, exceptions or some kind of a waiver or whatever, appeal, that kind of a thing that can be approved, maybe, maybe not. And then we said on our last episode, and who knows if this stuff drags out enough, and at midterm, teams can maybe do some and add players then. Would Calipari be willing to do that? Getting ready to head into SEC play based on what he saw in non conference play, specifically at that 5 spot or anywhere else that Arkansas might deal with attrition or other issues. Who knows? It's a crazy world we live in. Until next time, appreciate every last one of you. Be great in all your endeavors. We'll see you soon.